Kesha getting Saturn tattooed on her hand. Miley the Virus Cyrus getting Saturn tattooed on its body. Katy Perry has Saturn tattooed right on her wrist. We've seen Beyonce on magazine covers, right, with the Saturn earrings. We've seen Adele perform at concerts, not only wearing the Saturn earrings as well, but also getting Saturn tattooed on her arm, coincidentally, of course, on her 33rd birthday.
Saturn is the Lord of the black robe. Judges wear black robes. Catholic priests wear black robes. Rabbis wear black robes. Kids graduating from high school and university wear black robes. Black robes are the robes of the planet Saturn. Saturn color was black. God Saturn in the ancient Phoenician world was referred to as El, E-L. This is why if you're continuing today to worship the planet Saturn, you become known as an elder. How did you get to be an elder? You got elected with elections. Because you were elected, now you're one of the elites. You have become elevated.
Find something worth saving. It's all for the taking. I always
In ancient times, Saturn was revered as a supreme deity. It apparently ruled the kingdom of Atlantis and was worshipped by various civilizations. This worship often symbolized authority and time, playing a crucial role in shaping early religious and cultural practices. In mythology, Saturn is often synonymous with Cronus, the Greek titan who feared being overthrown by his offspring. This led him to consume each child at birth. The god Saturn, or El, was represented by a black cube and was viewed as the supreme god and ruler of kings, and that he ruled Atlantis and became the divine ancestor of all earthly leaders and earthly kings. And other similar news reports like Prince, now King Charles, being related to the ruler Vlad the Impaler, or how the late Queen Elizabeth II was a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad.
Prince Charles, who can trace his ancestry back to Romania's dark and distant past.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
As it were.
It's stated that Saturn always had a negative, if not evil, significance and prominence. In ancient times, it has been called the Greater Malefic, which was opposed to Jupiter, the Greater Benefic. Saturn is esoterically associated with man's limitations, restrictions, death and decay, hence the relation to Kronos, a representation of the god Saturn, evolving into the Grim Reaper with the scythe, an image that we are all familiar with today. Saturn is consequently the celestial body that is the least exposed to the sun's divine light, is associated with the coldness of the principle of evil, and the connection of the one all-seeing eye has persisted throughout the ages and even into today as a form of worship to Saturn. Now, what does the worship of the planet or the god Saturn have to do with modern day religions? Well, this belief had apparently originated back thousands of years ago, apparently from a group called the Cult of El. El was described as the titular head of the Canaanite pantheon, and his most common epithet was the bull, and he was also often portrayed as an old man with a long beard. And in the Old Testament, El is sometimes used as a synonym for Yahweh, and less commonly as the general term for deity. And it's theorized that this cult of El later on became involved and took roles as the leaders of ancient Egypt, then ancient Rome, and even continued up until this day. Now, the main problem I had with researching this topic is the actual amount of information regarding this cult and its different names it went by throughout the centuries. Same with the Canaanite god El. He apparently goes by many names: Yahweh, Adonai, Shaddai, Shabbat, and Sabbath. And it's possible that most of the world's religions, but mainly the Abrahamic religions, are still worshiping this god of ancient Mesopotamia, which would kind of make sense if you look into the theory of the Anunnaki and the father of the two main gods, Enki and Enlil. You'd see that Anu was the supreme god, and most of the Anunnaki gods on Earth have their own cities with their own priests and temples and peoples who worship them. The only way to make sense of these claims that most religions across the earth are secretly worshiping El would be if these religions all came from a common point. It's apparently to keep our realities under control and to keep us praying and giving our energy to this deity. And the way they've apparently done this is with specific groups of people in their respective areas, incorporating their Babylonian beliefs into the current population's belief systems of the areas they inhabit. Therefore, keeping everyone at war with each other, and our energies keep going to them instead of us using our energies right to promote peace and prosperous lives. This is apparently supposed to be a way to keep us, humanity, enslaved on Earth and in this realm. Now, according to many beliefs, when we die, our souls are supposed to be returned to the universe to allow us to go to the next stage. But apparently, this group, commonly recognized today as the cult of Saturn, have set these belief systems up, laws, banking, our entire society, all for the purpose to give our energy to Saturn, with it often being related to a symbol or symbols that we adhere to all the time and throughout our history. Here's how. The black cube is a mysterious symbol associated with Saturn. Found in different cultures, it represents Saturn's influence over time and mortality. This symbol is deeply rooted in religious and esoteric traditions, and it's often linked to the idea of hidden knowledge. So, this cube is the link to the Saturn worship that's hidden within the Abrahamic religions. And it's theorized that the Saturn occult has been behind every great empire throughout history. And this black cube was one of the representations of Saturn and its worship throughout history. And there are apparently cubes like this or similar in relation to Saturn scattered throughout the planet. There's a cube on the North Pole of Saturn, known as the hexagon storm. Right in the eye of this massive storm. Now, that cannot be a coincidence. How could ancient civilizations have known of the black cube of Saturn? Maybe if the cube was on another planet, or hell, even if the cube or hexagonal shaped object didn't exist at all on Saturn. Maybe if this were the case, I wouldn't be looking so deeply into the conspiracy of Saturn worship. But once again, I have to ask, how would ancient civilizations have known to associate this shape, the cube or the hexagon, with Saturn? This symbol is everywhere. Muslims take a pilgrimage to the Kaaba in Mecca, a building shaped like a black cube, which they run around the outside of it in concentric circles. Strangely enough, representing the rings of Saturn, and could even be seen as representing the hexagon storm on Saturn. But the Kaaba, a black cube that housed many deity altars, but belonged to the chief god Habu, or otherwise known as Baal or Baal. It's another connection to the worship of Saturn. Jewish people wear the leather boxes called tefillin on their foreheads as a religious observance. Tefillin are a reminder of God's intervention during the Exodus from Egypt and are worn during weekday morning prayers. They consist of small black leather boxes with straps containing parchment scrolls inscribed with verses from the Torah. This practice is based on the biblical commandment to bind God's word as a sign on your hand, and then let them serve as a frontlet between your eyes, found in Deuteronomy 6, verse 5 through 8. The tefillin worn on the head, known as the shel rosh, are placed just above the forehead on the midline of the head in accordance with this commandment. So, it seems like both the Muslim and Jewish faith are partaking in Saturn worship? Well, what about Christians? What could possibly be the representation of Saturn in Christianity? I don't remember seeing anything in Christian history that resembles the worship of a cube, but apparently there is. It's the cross. The cross is what is revealed when the cube has been opened and unfolded. Man, I feel that the God of the Bible is none other than El, Set, Kronos, Father Time himself, the Grim Reaper, and many others. Both Satan and Santa are also derived from Saturn. In fact, Christmas is actually the pagan holiday, Saturnalia. But according to some researchers, Saturn symbolism is everywhere throughout society. They claim that it's damn near inescapable. The Lord of the Rings is a reference to Saturn, as well as the symbolism behind wedding rings. The halo that is often depicted over the heads of religious figures in art is also a reference to Saturn's rings. There are several corporate logos paying tribute to Saturn as well, from Nike all the way to Nissan. All of this is to give our energy towards these symbols and images. Because according to the occult, it doesn't matter what people believe a symbol is to them personally. What matters is the true meaning of it, its origin. So it doesn't matter if good people with good intentions pour their energy into these celebrities, companies, or religious symbols. If they view the cross or the cube as a positive image of their respective god or belief, their energy and prayers are sent straight to El, or the god Saturn. Man, the cult of Saturn may have deceived us all. This cult, made up of many famous individuals in Hollywood, politics, sports, music, and religion, is apparently hoarding esoteric knowledge for themselves and also practicing black magic. So, what I've gotten from this belief in Saturn, from these occults, is that a group of people that worship the god El, who was the god of Saturn, these members of this society held the keys to power within each of their areas. Some spread to Egypt, Rome, and then the Vatican Church to the Middle East as well. It's stated that they're here to keep our energies and souls trapped here. Our negative energies from stress, pandemics, wars, famine. It's all food or source of energy for these beings or deities that feed off of us. And that includes El. And that every major religion on earth, every major corporation logo, and even members of Hollywood uses symbolism in everything. Every major war, the forced poverty, famine, the suppression of technology even. These are all things done or planned by these elite members of the cult of Saturn, or the many secret societies that has taken its roots in this occult belief of Saturn/Satan. And the only way to not be recycled, according to the research, is to reach a personal ascension, similar to the ancient teachings of the mystery schools or the Kundalini with all of its chakra points.